It is reality knocking on the door of the WNBA dump. Headline at Bro Bible. Indiana Feline struggling to sell out season opener. What? The Felines are struggling to sell tickets. Not only are they struggling to sell tickets to the season opener against the Dallas Winkers, I am seeing reports on Twitter that the Indiana Felines are struggling to sell season tickets.
You are not going to believe this. The Indiana Fever, the team with the most hyped player in a generation on their roster, cannot even sell out their season opener. Bro, we are talking about a squad that last year had their entire season ticket inventory wiped out in under 60 seconds flat. And now they are sitting at a shocking 70% sold. 70%. How does that even happen? How do you go from a complete sellout frenzy to leaving 30% of those seats empty when you have got arguably the biggest name in women's basketball suiting up for you? Something is seriously off, and trust me, the answer is way more complicated and way more controversial than you think. We dug deep into this story, and what we found will genuinely surprise you. But first, let me show you something that puts the whole situation into perspective.
Their season tickets sold out in less than an hour. This year, a week or so before the preseason begins, only 70% of the season tickets have been sold for the Indiana Felines. I wonder...
Okay, did you see that? Now you understand the energy surrounding this team right now. The expectations are through the roof. So when we tell you what is actually killing these ticket sales, it hits different. Here is the thing nobody wants to say out loud. The Fever went and priced their own fan base out of the building. Regular season tickets that used to cost you a totally reasonable $20. Gone. Now you are looking at over $100 just to walk through the door. And if you actually want a decent seat, a seat where you can see the game properly, you better have $900 just sitting around. $900 for a regular season WNBA game. That is not a typo. We are talking about a league that built its entire identity on being accessible, on being the place where real basketball fans could connect with elite athletes up close and personal. And now the Fever have flipped the script completely. They priced out the everyday fan, the families, the college kids, the ride-or-die supporters who were rocking with this team before all the hype even started. And the craziest part? The front office thinks this is the right move. But wait until you hear what the fans themselves had to say about this.
This has got to be a terrifying reality for the diva of Dump Divas, Kat Engelbert, the woman responsible for committing millions of dollars to players in a league that struggles to generate thousands of pesos.
Did you hear those, fans? That right there tells you everything you need to know. This is not just an Indiana Fever problem anymore. This thing is bigger, way bigger. The entire WNBA just greenlit a massive commitment of nearly $100 million in players' salaries. $100 million. That is a massive, bold, swing-for-the-fences gamble on the future growth of this league. And what are they discovering right now, in real time? Nobody, and I mean absolutely nobody, wants to pay the kind of exorbitant prices they are demanding just to sit in those arenas and watch these games. It is like a cold, hard dose of reality just kicked the league front door clean off the hinges. The math is not mathing. You cannot jack up salaries to NBA-adjacent levels, inflate ticket prices into the stratosphere, and then act surprised when your average fan taps out. This is a financial train wreck in slow motion. And the scariest part is that the people who could stop it are too deep in the hype bubble to even see it coming. And trust me, behind closed doors, those team owners are in a full-blown panic right now. The question is, are the players feeling that pressure too? Because what happened next inside the locker room will shock you.
There seems to be a serious misunderstanding in the WNBA when it comes to understanding value. It is easier to sell out games when tickets are selling for $20. Well, It's easier for most teams to sell out with cheap tickets. The Las Vegas Anonymous Faces, who just committed over $5 million to AJ Wilson, they couldn't sell out the WNBA Finals last year with tickets selling for less than $40. Going into this season, there has been a drastic increase in ticket prices in the WNBA.
Wow, did you see that? That clip right there is the emotional core of this whole story. Because now we have to be brutally honest. Can you really be surprised by any of this? Like, can you actually sit there with a straight face and act shocked? This league spent an entire season allowing other players to physically attack their biggest star with cheap shots and flagrant fouls, letting it happen over and over again with barely a slap on the wrist. And at the same time, they let a toxic narrative of racist accusations just fester in the background like an open wound, poisoning the atmosphere around the whole league. That is your foundation. That is what you built this expansion on. And then, you completely refuse to market your star player properly, like she is some kind of liability instead of the golden ticket she clearly is. You draft a player to the same roster who has well-documented beef with her, which is either the most savage power move or the most reckless front office decision in recent sports history. And honestly, it might be both. And after all of that dysfunction, all of that chaos, all of that mismanagement, you have the absolute audacity to triple the ticket prices and just expect loyal fans to smile and open their wallets like nothing happened. Nah, your fan base is not stupid. They see exactly what is going on. And what happened when the players finally spoke up about all this tension. That next clip says it all.
If the WNBA is capitalizing on momentum, if prices are increasing due to market demand, then why in the hell are they struggling to sell tickets? The first two games of this season with Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever, one game at home, the other on the road against the LA Sparkles, tickets for both games are starting at $100. Decent seats, 11 rows from the court. The WNBA is asking $900 per ticket. For that price, you can get better seats for the NBA playoffs.
Wow, after everything you just saw in that clip, does it shock you even a little bit that fans are looking at this whole situation and saying absolutely not, no thanks, and walking away completely? Because it should not shock you at all. So let us really get into the raw, brutal numbers here, because they do not lie and they do not care about anybody's feelings. The Indiana Fever, the supposed crown jewel of this entire league, the team that sold out every single game last season, the team that was single-handedly credited with dragging the WNBA back from the edge of total irrelevance, cannot sell out their own season opener. Let that sink all the way in. The most popular team in the league, featuring the one player who generates a staggering 90% of the league's media attention, cannot fill the building for Game 1. And just last year, these same season tickets were gone in under an hour. Fans were scrambling, begging, hitting the resale market at insane markups just for a chance to get inside. That was the Caitlin Clark effect at its most powerful and undeniable. A genuine phenomenon. But fast forward to right now, and those same tickets are sitting at 70% sold with the preseason a week away. 30% of their entire inventory just collecting dust. That is not a slow start. That is a 5-alarm fire. And the excuses are already forming. The apologists are going to blame the ticket prices, then pivot to the Raven Johnson drama. And when all else fails, they will call the fans racist and deflect from their own failures like they always do. But the real reason is painfully simple. The WNBA completely and utterly fumbled the Caitlin Clark effect through a toxic mix of incompetence, jealousy, and allowing a culture of hatred to be directed at their own biggest star. Last year, you could bring a family of 4 to a Fever game for under $40 a ticket. Arenas sold out because the price matched the product. Now the cheapest seat is $100 and a decent spot 11 rows from the court will run you $900 for a regular season game in May. To put that in perspective, you can get better seats to an actual NBA playoff game for less money. The league that loses money every single year and survives on NBA subsidies is pricing its product higher than the league generating billions in revenue, and then acting genuinely stunned that nobody is buying. Here is the fundamental rule of business they forgot. When you have something people desperately want, price becomes almost irrelevant. Super Bowl tickets cost thousands and sell out instantly. Taylor Swift charges hundreds and her tours are gone in minutes. The WNBA does not have that. What they have is an illusion of popularity built entirely on drama and controversy around one single player. And that illusion is cracking wide open right now. And look, if you have made it this far into this video, you already know you are not getting this level of honest, unfiltered WNBA analysis anywhere else. So do yourself a favor right now. Smash that subscribe button, hit the bell so you never miss a drop, and share this video because the truth needs to travel. The WNBA is at a crossroads, and channels like WNBA Vibe are the only ones bold enough to actually call it like it is. We are not here to protect narratives. We are here to give you the real story every single time. Stay locked in, because the next video, it is going to hit even harder than this one. Wait, did that last clip just put everything into perspective? Because what you just saw is exactly the kind of truth the league does not want going viral. So let us break this all the way down. No filter, no sugarcoating. Once the drama fades, once the circus leaves town, people look around and realize they are being asked to pay premium prices for a mediocre product, and they rationally, calmly, say absolutely not. And here is the wild part. The league actually knew they had to raise prices because players' salaries under the new collective bargaining agreement went from a modest $20 million league-wide all the way to nearly $100 million this year. The average WNBA player is now pulling around $600,000 annually, and that money has to come from somewhere. So their genius strategy was to triple ticket prices and just pray fans would blindly follow. But they completely misunderstood what was driving demand last year. It was not a sudden surge in basketball quality. It was not league-wide star power. It was one person, Caitlin Clark, and more specifically it was the non-stop drama swirling around her. The cheap shots, the racism accusations, the Angel Reese rivalry, the controversy and the chaos. That was the product people were actually paying to see. And instead of protecting that golden goose and building the entire league around her, the WNBA allowed a toxic culture of jealousy and resentment to grow like a cancer from the inside out. That Kennedy Carter hip check on Caitlin Clark last season was one of the most blatant cheap shots you will ever see in professional sports. Away from the ball, obviously intentional, dangerous. And the league called it a common foul. No suspension, no real punishment. Just a crystal clear message to every player in the league that you can physically attack their biggest star with zero consequences. And why did they let it slide? Because they were terrified of being accused of racism if they enforced their own rulebook against the players throwing those fouls. So instead of protecting the asset directly tied to their financial survival, they sacrificed her to appease a small group of bitter, resentful players. That is not incompetence. That is straight-up self-inflicted sabotage. And then there is the racism narrative. From the moment Clark entered this league, there was a coordinated effort to frame her historic success as white privilege rather than once-in-a-generation talent. Jameel Hill, Cheryl Swoops, countless players and media figures all pushed the same tired script. That fans only supported Clark because she is white, that media only covered her because of her race. And the WNBA never once pushed back, never once defended their own star player, even while their own data was screaming at them that Clark was single-handedly carrying attendance records, shattering TV ratings, and bringing in major sponsorships they had never seen before. They had every number in the world telling them one player was keeping the lights on, and they still let her be treated like an enemy in her own league. That is organizational incompetence on a level that is genuinely hard to wrap your head around. And then came the Raven Johnson draft pick, a 5'9" point guard who cannot shoot, plays the exact same position as your franchise player, has documented on-court beef with Clark from their college days, and publicly accused Clark's fan base of racism after South Carolina lost to Iowa. And the Indiana Fever looked at all of that information and said, yes, let us bring her in. Forget the terrible basketball fit. The optics alone are catastrophic. You are either being deliberately malicious or breathtakingly stupid, and honestly it is probably a generous helping of both. And predictably, any fan who criticized the pick got immediately labeled racist. Same playbook every single time. Step 1. Make a terrible decision. Step 2. Blame racism. Step 3. Repeat forever. But here is the economic reality these owners refuse to accept. Fans can leave. Your customers do not owe you their money or their attention. And when you consistently treat your entire fan base like criminals for supporting your biggest star, when you let that star get physically attacked with no consequences, and when you draft players seemingly designed to manufacture internal drama, fans walk. And walking is exactly what they are doing right now. This is not just Indiana either. This is a league-wide catastrophe. The Las Vegas Aces could not even sell out the WNBA Finals last year with tickets priced under $40. The championship, the most important games of the season, could not sell them out at $40. And now they expect fans to pay $900 for a random Tuesday night in May? The math does not math, and it never will. The WNBA built their entire growth strategy on smoke and mirrors. They convinced themselves that last year's attendance spike meant people had suddenly fallen in love with women's basketball as a sport. They believed their own hype. But people were not there for the basketball. They were there for the drama, the rivalry, the viral moments, the circus. When Clark got injured last season and the central drama went quiet, the TV ratings collapsed, the social media engagement fell off a cliff, and the buzz completely evaporated overnight. But instead of reading that signal and adjusting, they doubled down, 5 times the salary commitments, 3 times the ticket prices, assuming demand would keep growing regardless of the product. And now they are learning the hardest possible lesson in real time. The WWE WrestleMania comparison is perfect. WrestleMania 41 sold out. WrestleMania 42, same city 1 year later, could not sell out. Why? Because the storylines were not as compelling. The drama was not as gripping. 20,000 people decided it was not worth their money. Same venue, same event. Completely different result because the product declined. The WNBA is living that exact same story right now. Last year the drama was everywhere. This year Clark is healthy, but the manufactured controversy has largely faded. Angel Reese is in Atlanta now. The flagrant foul epidemic has cooled down, and without that constant heat the product is being exposed for what it is without the spectacle surrounding it. And here is the uncomfortable truth that this league absolutely does not want you to say out loud. The WNBA is 100% reliant on Caitlin Clark. Not on women's basketball as a concept. Not on multiple stars. Not on league-wide talent depth. On one single human being. If Caitlin Clark retired tomorrow, this league would return to the obscurity it lived in for decades within a single season. The ratings would crater. The attendance would collapse. The sponsorships would vanish. Because nobody else in that league has shown even a fraction of the ability to carry it. And that right there is the story the WNBA hopes you never fully connect. The mismanagement, the toxic culture, the price gouging, the sabotage of their own star. It is all one continuous thread leading straight to the crisis they are in right now. If you want this kind of raw, honest, zero-nonsense WNBA coverage delivered straight to you every single time, then smash that subscribe button right now, ring that notification bell, and share this video because real sports fans deserve the truth. We are WNBA Vibe, and we are just getting started. vidIQ Sonnet 4.6 Claude is AI and can make mistakes. Please